welcome back to my channel. If you're a returnee, you are loyal, you are the best, and I'm excited to bring you a new video this week. And if you're new, welcome to my world. Hope you subscribe for more videos if you like this one. So I wanted to come back today and talk about my library of books. If you know me personally, you know that I love books. I love to read, and I haven't really showcased this part of my interest on my YouTube channel yet, and I really want to integrate that moving forward. So yeah, I definitely want to start like a book series where each however many times I talk about the books that I read, the books I want to read, and share those recommendations for you guys. So today I wanted to talk about the books that I've read that I would reread now that I'm in my mid-20s. Now that I'm 26, there are definitely some books that I feel would resonate even more with me, and books that I feel are more reflective of the season that I'm in, the lessons that I got from those books would seep into my pores even more, and I would even notice new lessons that I hadn't before. So this is why I kind of wanna, we're in September, and definitely before the end of the year, I want to reread some books that I have. It's more typical to want to read more books, but I'm trying to slow down a little bit and really explore my own library of books, constantly changing. These are books that I read in my early 20s, and I was so sure of myself then. I felt like that version of me was the version that was going to remain, and that is absolutely not the case. I'm constantly evolving for the better, I hope so. I'm constantly questioning myself, questioning life. I'm constantly evolving my philosophy. I'm becoming a new philosophy. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's do a quick fashion moment. Here is this disco ball blazer I got from &Otherstories, and I love it. When I saw it, I knew that I had to buy it. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but I am loving it. We have this tank, just this undershirt, I don't know how, a tank top, camisole, singlet, from probably H&M. I wear this to sleep sometimes, so and then I have this mini skirt from Aritzia that I haven't worn a lot. I have this socks from Other People, and then these shoes from Farfetch. The brand evades me, but I think it's called Premiata. I believe it's from Italy, and they were shipped from Italy, but I got them via Farfetch. And these earrings, whew, is it Ana Luisa? I actually don't remember. I don't, but these are earrings that I always forget I own, and they're spectacular and so beautiful. Never thought that I would look good in clear glasses, and I'm not saying that I do, but I don't look hideous either. Okay, so I've gathered a couple of books that I want to read again, especially now that I'm 26. These are books that wowed me back then when I read them, but I feel like I'm just in a place right now where they would wow me even more, and also just help me make sense of my own thoughts, my own habits, the way I live my own life. Annie Ernaux, L'événement. This is a recently minted Nobel Prize winner, which I met, and I keep saying that, but it was just the way we met her. It was hilarious. So I wanted to actually reshoot my review of L'événement because I don't think that the one I shot really did justice to just how much or how big of an impact this had on me the summer of 2022. And we're now summer of 2023, and this is a book that I know that I've reread a couple of pages at a time, but I just know that I'm going to reread this book. So L'événement translates as The Happening in English, and is by Annie Ernaux, and it is a true story based on the life of Annie Ernaux, and it recounts the happenings that led up to her illegal abortion in 1963. And it's just crazy how very of the time this book is, even today in 2023. Sorry, at the time when I read this book last summer, I was going through something that was very, very taxing on my body. Not an abortion, not a pregnancy, but in the same way I felt like you in two ways feel so present in your body, because there's this thing inside of you that you can't really, sorry, there was like a little speck. There's this thing inside of you, and by the same time you feel so removed from it because you don't even understand your own body anymore. And your body, well, in my case, your body becomes this site for doctors to try and diagnose, doctors trying to dissect and understand, to the point where you don't even understand your own body anymore, but you're relying on other people to understand it for you. And in the case of Annie Ernaux, her body became a site of judgment, a site of unsolicited opinions, a site of shame. How do you even begin to comprehend your body? And also, in the same ways as the character, your life becomes split between before that happening and then the after. And it's such a weird way to slice your life up. People slice your life, by years, by age, but slicing your life up by events that happen in your life is such a weird feeling, because the before almost doesn't seem real. Annie Ernaux has such a way of placing feelings onto paper and translating them into words. And like I said, this story retells the events that happened prior to having her illegal abortion, and that's not what I was going through when I read this book. But I felt like it was so reflective of any woman's life at any point of time. There's a quote that I really like in the book: "Je veux m'immerger à nouveau dans cette période de ma vie, savoir ce qui a été trouvé là." And it basically translates as she wants to immerse herself back in the 1960s and know what can be found in that period in time. And I definitely, being removed from summer of 2022, I know that there's so much that if I immerse myself back in that period that I can find, I can better understand. Whew, that was deep, I think. But yeah, and she's someone who is very intellectual, and that whole experience, like, she wasn't living in her intellectuality anymore. And I felt that when I was really sick, it was even really hard for me to just focus and read a book. And I would love to read this. Having been removed from the situation now, I think that I would be able to appreciate what I went through last summer a lot more, and understand really what I was feeling back then. The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born by Ayi Kwe Arma. And I feel so lucky to have stumbled on this book. It's not a book that is widely known or even perhaps read, especially now. I think it came out years ago, right? I don't see this book being pushed. Yeah, maybe even 1965. I don't see this book being pushed, like being marketed out for people to read. It's really a treasure. It's really a precious item that you really have to find, and I'm letting you guys know. But The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born by Ayi Kwe Arma is such a beautiful book about just life, especially in our mid-20s, for people, for those of us who are not satisfied with our jobs, with how we have to spend most of our days, with what we need to sacrifice in order to survive in the cycle of the 9 to 5. This is such a good book because you feel seen, you feel heard. And I'm going to read some quotes. No, I have tried to be free, but I am not free. Perhaps I will never even be. The naked man turned on his side and propped himself on his right elbow, facing the man on the desk. It was all good, the youth and the thoughts of honest living, water flowing to thirsty land, wasn't it? But what happens when you come out and you see the land wants you, not honest and living, but completely like its dead self? You didn't think I too had wondered about that? I think of you as the freest person I know, said the man. Then everyone you know is a slave. When you can see the end of things, even in the beginning, there's no more hope, unless you want to pretend or forget or get drunk or something. Another one I really enjoyed was On Beauty by Zadie Smith, and this is the first book that I read that made me fall in love with her. I had read one previous book that I wasn't a big fan of, but this one, I love this book so much. Reason why, I think that it's one of the first books that I read where I was just reading life on paper. I wasn't reading a representation of life or an interpretation of life. This really felt like this is life. This is how people talk. This is how people behave. These are issues that real people have. And it talks a lot about beauty, not only as a physicality, but in so many other ways that I think I did not even grasp on when I read this book. I think that it's really our minds. Yeah, when we think of beauty, we just think of our faces, other people's faces, our attraction to them. And I kind of want to reread this book to really understand the nuances of beauty, how it can be both charming but also damaging to the beholder even. So I need to reread this book. And my last two recommendations are Behold the Dreamers by Imbolomboe and The Disoriented by Amin Malouf. Behold the Dreamers is by a Cameroonian author, and this is the first book that I read by a Cameroonian author, and it meant so much to me because some of the words being used, some of the tribes being mentioned were words that were thrown in my household growing up, and it was just nice to see that reflected in a book. And especially now that I've become an American citizen, this book is a story. It's an immigrant story about a family, Cameron family, that immigrates to America, especially in New York City. So it really hits very close to home, and they're really trying to achieve what I've just achieved, which is gaining citizenship and feeling like you have the right to be in this country, and feeling like that right will not be taken away from you. And my process was pretty easy on my part, and I don't think I really appreciate how difficult that process can be. And I mean, this book tells you how difficult it can be, how mentally taxing it can be. And I think I need to read this book again, having done the thing. I think I would just have a much bigger appreciation for it, especially because the characters are Cameroonian. You know, I had to give up my citizenship, my Cameroon citizenship, to become an American. And that's what they're trying to do and are willing to do. And in New York City at that, just like me. So it's a book that I would be crazy not to reread again in this period, in this season of my life. And finally, we have The Disoriented by Amin Malouf, which is probably my most precious book. Whenever someone asks me what's your favorite book, what's a book you recommend, this one always comes to mind. It's always number one, because I don't think it's possible to read this book and not fall in love with what it's saying, with how it's written, and not connect. And again, especially now that I've become an American citizen, this is a man who lives in France, who's been living in France in exile, but he returns to his country, which is unnamed, but somewhere in the Middle East. And he returns because one of his friends is dying, and he goes back and tries to reconnect with his country, which is no longer what it used to be. Tries to reconnect with the friends who have also come back from abroad and those who have stayed. And there's a lot of judgment between those who stayed in their country versus those who found countryship somewhere else. And it's a book about loyalty to one's country, loyalty to friends. It's a book about friendship, and being 26, the meaning of friendship is so different than the meaning of friendship when I was 22, 23. It's constantly evolving, and it will constantly evolve as you go, through different stages in life. And so I just have to reread this book. But there's some really great quotes that I wanted to read. A friend lets you down, he's no longer your friend. The country lets you down, it's no longer your country. And since you are easily let down, you will end up with no friends and no country. I didn't leave, it was the country that left. Every man has the right to leave. It is for his country to persuade him to stay. Which is very powerful. There's another one. They say that in the early centuries of the Christian era, as a new religion was spreading across the Roman Empire, certain patricians conspired to delay their conversion for as long as possible. Had they not been told that at the moment of baptism, all their sins would be washed away, so they carried on with their lives of debauchery and were only baptized on their deathbeds. There's a little bit of humor there. And now we're gonna play a quick game where I just answer some rapid fire questions. So yeah, let's get right into it. I definitely prefer paperbacks. Even I prefer paperbacks over hardcovers. I just love the feel of like a light book that can get damaged. They just feel more precious that way. I don't really like hardcovers because then you can take the cover and then beneath is just like usually a plain book cover, and all the art is on the removable paper piece, which I don't really like. And ebooks, excuse me, I don't do that unless I'm reading a New York Times article. No. I would actually love to see Behold the Dreamers turned into a TV series. I think it's very Succession-esque. I can think of so many different series that if you just blend them together would create this. So yeah, I'm really hoping. Honestly, one of my dreams would be to buy the rights of this book. Obviously I would have to be established, but if no one's going to do it, give me 5 years. Also, Americana would be interesting. I know HBO picked it up with Lupita Nyong'o as the main lead. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It's been years. But yeah, so Behold the Dreamers and Americana. I would say a book that I feel should be on every college, not even college syllabus, but high school syllabus, is Purple Hibiscus. I think that throughout high school we spend so much time in the brains and minds of young white men or older white men, or even sometimes white women, but not enough in the minds of young black girls. I did actually. I met Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie last fall at the New Yorker Festival, and I'm about to meet Zadie Smith this month actually. Yeah, those are all the books that I recommend you read for the first time. If you haven't, and if you've read them before, I recommend that you read them again if you feel like you're in a different stage in your life, a different season that will make you appreciate those books a lot more.